You're listening to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda and Horsemanship, where we discuss training wins and fails, mindset, personal growth, and everything in between. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or reins and let's ride. Hey there, it's Miranda Allen, and welcome back to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude. Many of you probably saw the post I made recently about stepping away from the podcast for a little bit due to some unexpected family health issues going on. And honestly, it's just been a rough season in general. Between the never-ending winter, virus after virus making its way through the house, like seriously, how many stomach bugs can one person get? And some family health challenges and just the weight of everything piling up. I hit a point where I was burnt out and physically I didn't even have time to hit record, let alone outline and edit an episode. So I said, you know what? My priorities are here and not there, and I had to quit. I bet a lot of you can probably relate to that feeling, where it's not just one big thing, but a bunch of smaller things, or in this case, it felt like a bunch of bigger things, stacking up over time until one day you're just like, wow, I am not okay. Enter a deep breath. It also doesn't help that I tend to get overwhelmed pretty easily when my to-do list starts piling up, which honestly makes sense because at my core, I'm a very go with the flow, wherever the wind blows kind of person who doesn't like to be feeling weighed down. But then there's the other side of me that goes from 0 to 100, hyper-focused, all or nothing. So yeah, tell me you have ADHD without telling me. That combination, it can be a lot. And when you're in a more stationary season of life, such as winter, it's really easy for your brain to jump ahead and start trying to plan out the next several months and solve everything all at once. You know that feeling. Your to-do list is piling up, your brain is spinning, and somehow you've jumped 6 months into the future stressing about something that hasn't even happened yet. And that's exactly where I found myself recently, and actually what inspired the podcast episode. I caught myself recently worrying about where this new business idea I have would be come fall when both kids are in school and I finally have more consistent time to focus. And instead of just feeling excited about that, my brain went immediately into, you need to do all this prep work over summer, you need to be ready to hit the ground running. And okay, maybe not the first day, because let's be honest, I'll probably be in a ball of tears sending my baby off to preschool. But by day 2, you need to have everything figured out, doors open, ready to go. And while those plans aren't necessarily impossible, the problem is the expectation behind that. Because suddenly I've taken something that could feel exciting and turned it into this urgent, pressure-filled timeline that sends me into a spiral of complete unnecessary stress, all because that's just my brain hitting full throttle chasing the dopamine rush. Then all the what ifs turn into, is it even worth trying? Not to mention missing out on the joy of being in summer. It's so easy sometimes to forget that we are human beings, not human doings. I know as a horse owner, I felt this here too. Tell me if this sounds familiar. There's stalls to clean, horses to feed, hay to stack, tack to organize, blankets to wash, farrier appointments to schedule, trucks that need oil change, and oh, weren't we supposed to ride our horse at some point too? The struggle is real. When I was young and single, the all or nothing mindset worked out great for goal setting. I had the ability to dive in and do all or nothing. But now that I have a family and several very important responsibilities, I cannot go 100 miles per hour in multiple directions, and it's an extremely frustrating habit to break. But the truth is, I can go 50 miles an hour. The challenge, however, is that my brain does not like to go 50 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour feels boring. 50 miles an hour feels wrong. I'm not saying that it is wrong, but it feels wrong. This is very common with ADHD brains. Because 100 miles per hour is exciting. There's clarity, identity, and a huge dopamine rush. Whereas 50 miles per hour is slower feedback, less dopamine, and heaven forbid, more patience. To me, at 50 miles an hour, my brain interprets it as, I must not care enough, this isn't working, or I'm falling behind. So because I cannot give it full throttle, it causes my brain to slink back into safety mode and just say, let's just not go there. It's not worth it. But in reality, those recent challenges aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And 50 miles an hour is where sustainable things get built. Because 50 miles per hour is more disciplined focus, which long-term goals take discipline, versus living on caffeine and wild dreams at 100 miles per hour, which is way more fun if you're someone like me and you thrive on chaos. But unfortunately, it's not the best long-term. Enter pouting phase. Think about this when we're training our horses. It's so easy to strive for more, especially when we have show deadlines on the horizon. Even though we know deep down that the most progress comes when we have patience and we go slow and steady at the horse's pace. On the flip side, it can also be easy to just want to throw in the towel and say, well, maybe next year because I just can't give my horse 100% this year, so why even bother? We're just going to end up embarrassing ourselves and end up donating our entry fees. Sure, we all know a good trainer can make any horse look good in 60 to 90 days, diving in at 100%. But is that as strong as a solid foundation that a horse can get at 50% over the course of a year? I don't know about you, but I can say those two scenarios sure do get different results. Another common struggle I see in both myself and others is that when you put all of your focus on the outcome, you end up tying your self-worth to those results. And if you don't reach that goal, you don't get that job, or you don't win that championship, then it quickly turns into, well, I must not be good enough. I'm not worthy enough, so on and so forth. This habit of tying self-worth to results and outcomes will cause you to either go 100 miles per hour trying to guarantee success or hit the brakes entirely and freeze up to avoid failure. But here is the truth. Your effort is a reflection of you, not the outcome. Outcomes are a reflection of many variables. Anything and everything from weather, market demand, economy, health, and just plain luck. None of these which you can control. You could do everything right and still end up in a neutral outcome at best. That's life. And this is something that I have seen over and over again with horses. I can't tell you how many times I've seen horses that are bred to the nines. They look incredible on paper. They have the looks, the conformation. Everything about them says that they should be exceptional. But mentally, something just isn't there. They can't handle pressure. They can't stay with you. Something is just off. And no amount of training is going to turn them into that horse that you think they should be. That's the hard part. Because it doesn't mean the effort is wasted. It just means that the outcome wasn't fully in your control. So this is where the shift has to happen. You focus on the input, not on the output. And you trust that what's meant to come around and come together will when it's ready. I have been there. And I can tell you firsthand, it sucks when you have poured everything into a horse that just can't deliver. But at some point, the best thing you can do is just to move on. Because it costs the same to feed a good horse that can do and wants to do the job as it does one that doesn't. And while it can feel like wasted time and effort, this is where the faith piece comes in, knowing that none of that work was actually wasted. Because you were still showing up, you were still learning. You are still putting in the reps, quietly building the kind of foundation that will pay off when the right opportunity or the right horse comes along. And if you've ever owned a horse, you've probably felt this in real time. Think about a time when you worked so hard to prepare for a show or a specific trail ride, and then when the day comes, your horse just goes and acts like a wild Mustang that has never been worked a day in its life. And you're just like, what just happened? I know, it is frustrating. I have been there. But that's the moment where you have a choice. You can either spiral about the outcome, or you can go back and you can keep working on the input, because that's the only part that you can control. Something I catch myself thinking about a lot is this idea where what you're doing today is going to show up in your life about 6 months from now. Take a minute to ponder that. Where are you today in your health, in your finances, your relationships, in your horsemanship? And think back, what were you doing 6 months ago in each of those areas? And how does that align with where you are today? Now take a look at what you're doing today. Are you spending or saving money? Are you eating fast food or healthy homemade meals? Are you working your horse 4 days a week or you haven't brushed him in 2 weeks? Now, taking that perspective, where do you honestly think you're going to be in 6 months from now in each of those areas? Do you like where you think you'll be headed? If not, you better start redirecting your focus on what your input is. So here's a big takeaway. Focus on what you can control, and that is the input. Show up, do the work, take the small steps every day, whether it's with your horse, your business, your health, or your relationships. The outcome will come, often in ways you can't even predict and sometimes not on your timeline, but the effort you put in does not go to waste, I promise. It builds a foundation, strengthens your skills, and prepares you for the right opportunities when they arrive. And remember, 50 miles per hour might feel slow, steady, or even boring to your brain, but it's where lasting progress happens. That's where growth, consistency, and confidence are built in both horsemanship and life. I'd love for you to think about one area in your life where you've been going either 100 miles per hour unsustainably or sitting frozen at 0. And pick one small step to bring it to a sustainable 50 miles per hour this week. And let me know how it goes. So take a deep breath, refocus on your input, and trust yourself. You've got this. Thank you for tuning in to Horsemanship, Growth, and Gratitude with Miranda and Horsemanship. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend who loves horses as much as we do. And while you're at it, be sure to check out my website, mirandaallyn.net. That's ALLYN, to stay updated on the launch of my upcoming online course, Essentials of Horsemanship. And until next time, remember, horsemanship is in the details.